Hey guys, it's Nicholas here from upgradeToLife.com and welcome to this very important video which is called Focus on Your Inner State, Change Your State, Change Your Circumstances. As easy as that. And I know that on my channel I talk a lot about the inner state, like our state of consciousness, our identity, our self-conception. Those three things together combined are literally like the same thing. They describe the same thing because that is the deepest level possible that you can shift that. Right? Neville was aware of this. A lot of other teachers were aware of this, that our state of consciousness, like who we are, what you claim is true for yourself, right? The state that you shift in, that determines what you get mirrored back to you. That determines your life. So it is not only about the thoughts and the emotions, right? I have many other videos where I explain that in more detail, why this is not all that counts. This is more so like surface level stuff, still important. But again, the deepest shift, the most important shift is our inner state. The identity level, the self-conception that we have of us. And with this video, I basically want to remind you first of all of that. I want to share with you some really powerful quotes, and I want to explain to you why this is so important, how to shift your state, and yeah, just talk about states, because this is still a big topic in the Neville community. And in my opinion, that's the most important topic of all of them. Because if you master that, then you will have no problems in your life, really. You will be really free-flowing, and it will be able for you to shift into your desired states and therefore seeing them externalized through every circumstance in your life. So with that, let's just jump right into that video. Now, the first quote that I want to share with you is the following from Neville, where he said, "If you know how to move from your present state, if you dislike it, to the state that you would like to externalize, then you have the secret." You see, so he calls that basically the secret. He calls the secret to know from how to shift from who we are right now, the identity that we have right now, the state that we're in right now, into this new state where we already have our goals, where we already are our desired ideal self that experiences life from a completely different standpoint, from a completely different viewpoint. That is what makes it so important. And as he also said, to this state, you would like to externalize, because he also knew that, again, our life expresses our state of consciousness. I have a video, I will link this above right now, explaining more about this, right? The externalization of your inner state. And then you know how to play this game of life, right? Then you know, okay, how can I shift, how to do that. And this is how this looks like, right? I'm sure you know this graphic, this illustration, if you watch some of my other videos on my channel. And for me, that's the most simplest and the most fundamental graphic illustration that you have to get, that you have to understand, that you can keep in your mind, because that summarizes everything, right? You are always like in states. You're always in states, and I will just in a second explain that to you. Right now, you are identified with certain states. You have a certain identity crafted of yourself, a certain self-conception, and therefore you experience your current circumstances, that you cannot escape this truth. This works for everyone, everywhere, any place, any time. That's just the truth, right? And then obviously you would not watch all of those videos and learn more about self-development and spirituality and consciousness and life and manifesting and Neville Goddard if you don't have any goals and desires and basically this new reality, let's call it like that, that you want to experience, right? That which comes with your goals actually being manifested and you being this kind of version of yourself that you want to be, which is this new internal state. And again, if what we want to learn is the art of moving, right, is to move from who we are right now, what we have right now, to who we want to be, having already what we want to have. That's, in most simple terms, how this works, what this is all about. That is the shift we want to make, without any fluff, without any hype, without any woo-woo, just the straight to the point shift, right? And I experienced that this gets overcomplicated. And at the same time, I experienced that in order to really do this shift and have long-lasting results, it takes more than just the technique oftentimes, if you are like kind of new to this, right? Oftentimes what it takes is this bigger picture understanding of, okay, how does it work? Why does it work? And then obviously oftentimes there are a lot of emotions involved. Oftentimes there are a lot of doubts and worries involved. Oftentimes there's involved that we're not even clear about all of that. So when we have this bigger picture understanding of, okay, how can we do that? How does it work? Then it becomes more normal, more easy to shift and stay in our desired, in our designed and desired crafted internal state that we then actually externalize that. So if you want to learn more about how to do that, why this is so crucial, and you would just want to deepen your understanding of that, then check out the first link in the description, which I said to you also in the beginning is my free masterclass. And there I also explain this fundamental shift. Now let's look at some quotes from Neville to first of all get clarity again on what a state is. Please don't overcomplicate this word. It's a very simple word and it is very simple to understand. So a state is basically an attitude of mind, a state of experience with a body of beliefs which you live by. Okay, so it's like just your dwelling place. Like, what do you assume on a consistent basis? What do you believe to be true on a consistent basis? What do you identify with on a consistent basis? You always come back to certain states. Maybe the state of a great partner, or a state of being not a good partner, or a state of I'm good with money. I know how to increase my money, or it's difficult for me to make more money. It's difficult for me to increase my salary. You see, you always have certain states, but it's like that from the state, your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, your actions will arise. But the state is like the source of everything. Okay, and you can also use the term self-conception, like certain self-concepts, or like this main self-concept, or your core identity. That's basically the same thing. So don't overcomplicate the wording, but just realize again that the state is this body of beliefs of who you believe yourself to be, in simple terms. So always expressing a state, you identify yourself with it by saying, I'm poor or I'm rich, I'm known or I'm unknown, I'm wanted or I'm unwanted. I could go indefinitely because there are infinite states, right? They're infinite states. I also made a video which is actually called Infinite States. I will link this above right now, where I also help you to understand that there is not just this one state that you are currently in. Right? If you currently don't like your circumstances and the surroundings and how people treat you, what is showing up in your relationship life, in your bank account, then that's because of your internal world. That's only because of your internal state. That's not because of the circumstances. Never. Right? So your circumstances are designed to take their cue from you in that sense, but not the other way around. If you take your cue from the circumstances, you will be in this vicious feedback loop. So again, realize what a state is. Pretty simple. Right? It's this body of beliefs and assumptions and identifications. Realize that there are infinite states, and your world expresses the state that you identify yourself with. So if you are right now in a state of poorness or lack and fear and doubts and all of that, look at your life, right? It will be reflected back to you. And now let's continue. So I tell you, master the art of moving from one state to another. You are not this state. You never have been and you will never be. The state, if you are going to condemn the state. But why condemn anything? Move him out of a state into another state. Move yourself out of one state into another state. Okay, I want to translate that to you. It's a little bit longer, but it's really simple in my opinion, because Neville, you can read all of Neville's books, but again, his main teaching next to awakening to a true self, realizing more of who you really are and stuff, which is the foundation stone, which is the core stone, which is really important, was like manifesting and how to externalize our desired states, our goals, our desires, whether they're general or specific. And by going to the real end, by asking us, what do we really want? Going to the end, occupying that, shifting into that end state so it is expressed to us. And he said, master the art of moving from one state to another. That is the art you should master. You should not master the art of affirmations. You should not master the art of techniques, or I don't know. Right? But if you learn to master the art of how to move from one internal state to the other, then that is how you make shifts in your life and how you make changes in your life. Okay? So this is important, and you want to be wealthy as you understand it. You want to be famous as you understand it. All these are states. Go into the state before you are qualified. Go into the state and stay there. The state has all the things necessary to externalize itself, but you are the occupant power. You have to go into the state and dwell there. And this is really, really crucial, right? So it literally doesn't matter like what you want to express. Everyone has different goals. Everyone has different desires. Some people don't want to be wealthy. They want to do something else. Other people want to have financial security and financial freedom, and that is great, right? So if you want to do that, right, and you define for your own what this means for you, what this implies to you, then realize again, that is a state that does already exist. The state of you earning twice as much, having a higher salary, or being in a happy relationship, being with the person that you want to be in a relationship, all of that is a state, right, which does exist, which is already been created if creation is finished, which I all explained in this previous video that I linked called Infinite States. And so you go into the state before you are qualified. You go into a state before you see the external proofs. You don't have to see the external validation before you give yourself permission to be in that state, which means you can occupy this state of wealth, even though your circumstances right now maybe show you a different reflection still from your old internal identifications. This doesn't matter. You can still, the state is still available. You can still shift to it. You should never wait for the circumstances to change and then be like, awesome, the circumstances changed. Right now I can feel myself in that state. This is not how it works. It works exactly the other way around for all life areas. So you go into the state and you stay there, right? Many people, they get into a state once because they say an affirmation, they feel like, oh yeah, awesome, and then whoop, they get sucked back to this old man, how Neville calls it, to the old state, to this old version of you. So we want to actually establish that this becomes natural to us, right? We want to make this our new dwelling place so that we continue to express it and we don't only get short-lived results. And then the other awesome thing, which that is why I highlighted this, is Neville said, the state has all things necessary to externalize itself, right? We oftentimes wonder then, okay, if I occupy the state, what to do next? What to do then? But that is like a false kind of mindset. That's a false paradigm, because the state alone includes all the manifestations, all the surroundings, all the circumstances that come with that state of experience if you shift into that. So that's why the how is not your concern. I made a video called Don't Worry About the How. I will link this above right now, which shows you that this is not on your shoulders, this topic of the how. So that's why we should focus on the inner state. It has all the means necessary to be expressed. And also important, you are the occupant power, right? The state is not just, it's not that you instantly internally be like, okay, yeah, I'm wealthy, that this comes to you. It's because you are the operant power. You are the awareness occupying different states and identifying with them. You are not the state, but you're occupying a state, therefore externalizing it. And if you leave an old state, it is not gone. It is not out of existence. It is still there. But you are not viewing the world from it again because you have left it. It's like cities. Neville also brought up the metaphor with moving through cities, right? If you leave a city alone or behind, the city is still there. However, you now view the world from the city that you're now in. So it's all about moving from one state to another. And then Neville continued and he said, now look at it this way. See the whole vast world as infinite states, right? Check out the video that I linked in this video before called Infinite States. All states. If they are all states and you are an immortal being, you are not a state. You're immortal. You enter a state and the state becomes alive, right? Many people, when they fall into how they then define a negative state, they're really identified with it and they think that is me and I'm having those thoughts and those negative emotions and that is all me. And they're so identified with this limiting state in that terms, but they don't realize that they are never the state. You are never the identity. That is literally just a role, just a state, just a self-conception you have. But it's still a concept of self. So we have to ask ourselves, okay, what is the real self? Right? The real self is unconditioned consciousness, unconditioned awareness that gets conditioned if you, the operant power, aka this unconditioned awareness, then basically slips into a state or is identified with those certain assumptions and beliefs and identifications, and therefore that is what you express in your world. But you're not the state, which means you are free. You have free will to choose your preferred ideas to shift into your preferred states, and therefore you can shift into the state of the wish fulfilled. You can shift into the states where you already are the person that you want to be, because that is already available for you. Okay? Really important stuff, guys. So therefore, you're not to blame if you enter a state unwittingly. and it's a horrible state, right? People that judge themselves, they just reaffirm that state basically unconsciously. Like, why am I still like this? Why is nothing moving forward? Why is it working for them but not for me? Then you're just keeping that state alive that you have fallen into. So don't judge yourself if that happened. It might happen, right? If you're not aware of all of that and you're still learning it, that's not a real problem. If you enter a state of poverty, you have to experience poverty. If you remain in it, you must go and drink to that very last drop, right? If you go into any state and you remain in that state, you're going to drink it to the very last drop. Meaning you will experience that state in your world, right? So many people, they lose faith because they might shift into a state for a time, then they don't see the desired circumstances showing up in their life, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, it's not working. But that is because they don't remain in the state, okay? Which at some point becomes natural without any work at all. And it should never be work. It's easy to shift the state if you, again, have this bigger picture understanding of how it works, that there is no lack, that you're infinite, that you can choose whatever state you want to be in, that this is externalized in the world, and you know how to deal with all of that. And again, if you go into any state and you remain in that state, you are going to drink it to the very last drop, meaning you will experience everything related to that state. If you slip into the state or you go into the state of unhealthiness or illness, you're going to express that in your life. That is just the truth. Same with poverty, same with positive states, obviously, such as love, also in relationships, more money. And it can even be like specific goals that you have. It does not only have to be general states, right? But you can get out of a state. Because let's imagine you could not freely choose your states. That would mean if you would be in a state of poverty, for example, but you could not shift out of this, that would mean you are forever poor. But because you have free will, because you have the ability to consciously shift into your preferred state by imagining it, by identifying with it, you start to shift your circumstances. So you don't have to remain in it if you know it's a state. And that is what so many people forget, right? They think they are it, but they don't realize that they are actually the unconditioned awareness that is just right now identified with a state. And it becomes so real to them that they lose themselves in that state, or identity and self-conception. So if you don't know it's a state, you identify yourself with the state and think you are, like I just said, right? And you will remain in it and continue to perpetuate the same circumstances. And yeah, guys, that's it, right? So I know this is was really extensive, and I just wanted to go into real detail because I want you to get this. This is a really crucial part. This is one of the main teachings of Neville. I would say it is actually the main teaching of Neville Goddard. So again, if you want to know more, check out all the links that I linked everywhere, like the videos and also the free masterclass, very important. And also, if you want to work with me to actually make this happen in your life and to establish this shift, right, then without any fluff or hype or woo-woo, just straight to the point, then you can check out the second link, which is to apply for a free spot to talk with me and see if we are a good fit or not. Then that's also okay. So I hope you got this, right? If you have any questions, feedback, suggestions, always leave them in the comments down below, guys. I speak to you soon, and thank you really much. Apply this stuff, use this stuff, learn this stuff. This is really, really powerful. I don't make those videos for fun. I apply this for my own life, and I see it in the lives of people that also apply this. And this is huge, right? Focus on your inner state. Change your inner state, change your identity, change your self-conception, change your circumstances, and manifest your goals, right? So thank you really much, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.